Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Zoom H5 Studio handheld field audio recorder. H5 Studio is a new addition to the Zoom handheld recorders family. It is most recent and future-packed device of Zoom handheld recorders line, so without further ado let's just dive in. H5 Studio comes in very colorful carton box. On the back of the packaging we've got best features of this recorder nicely lined up in pictures and text. Inside the packaging we've got H5 Studio itself, warranty papers and creator sticker. No other accessories, SD cards, cables or adapters were included. Now let's take a closer look at the recorder. I have to say that it feels good in the hand. Not too heavy or too large, it is rather easy to handle. On the right side of the device we can see micro SD card slots, menu knobs, USB-C connector and Bluetooth connector covered up with the rubber cap. Also on the right side H5 Studio has 3.5mm input connector through the mounted microphone capsule. On the left side it has 3.5mm line-out connector, 3.5mm headphones connector, volume and on-off hold switch. On the back it has batteries compartment, mounting connector, single mono speaker and lanyard connector. On the bottom it has combo XLR connectors with a locker. On the front it has very nice, quite large display surrounded by array of gain knobs. 16/24 fixed or 32-bit float direct switch knob, rubberized sort of soft touch, microphones on-off knobs, play, pause, forward, rewind knobs and big round record button in the center. And on top, as you can see, it has an interchangeable microphone capsule in XY configuration, which one can change for any other interchangeable microphone capsule of Generation 3 Zoom interchangeable microphone capsules line. I have to say that it is quite easy to assemble or disassemble due to completely redesigned capsule connector. This capsule is much lighter than the ones from generation prior, which were made out of metal. It has a fully plastic build, yet it feels secure and reliable. Besides that, this particular capsule has largest mics ever on handy recorder with incredibly high dynamic range. Besides the large stereo microphone capsule design, it also has 3.5mm stereo input connector, just like it was with previous generation of Zoom interchangeable capsules. As you can see, H5 Studio built very nicely with right attention to the details, like for example breakage-free micro SD card slot cover or nicely arranged batteries compartment. As I already have mentioned, H5 Studio is a new addition to Zoom handy recorders family. In my opinion, it is a clear step up from the essential line of the recorders. It seems to have better build and functionality overall. Besides large microphone capsules and seriously thought-through design, H5 Studio is capable of capturing 4 incoming channels in 32-bit float 192 kHz, which is basically the highest possible resolution for portable recorders of any brand at this point. Now let's install batteries and micro SD card and take a better look at the functionality. After first power up, as usual these days, H5 Studio asking to proceed with accessibility functionality or not and to adjust date and time. As you can see here, the display is really nice. It is split in 2 sections, whereas upper segment dedicated to real-time waveform and lower segment of the display is dedicated to the volume level on incoming channels. Also on upper side of a display we've got running time and menu items, which one can scroll through with the little rocker on the side. Overall, this display is very easy to read and operate. On top of the device, right beneath the microphone capsule connector, we've got direct 16/24 or 32-bit float switch, which can be very handy in some situations, as for example if one would need a 16-bit recording only due to some hardware limitations, or if one would need to have smaller files. Besides recording of 4 incoming channels, H5 Studio also capable of recording 1 extra stereo mix track simultaneously, whereas one can create a stereo mix of all 4 channels. H5 Studio has built-in software mixer, which can be used to record stereo mix simultaneously or export pre-recorded session to stereo mix track. In order to do that, one would need to navigate to and select little file sign on the upper part of the display in the menu items row. Then scroll through the recorded files and select desirable one. Now, as you can see, we are in file list, software mixer environment, where we can scroll through the menu items on the display. One can edit recorded files and export those edited versions to final mix files. There is also other features like play, repeat, speed adjustment, etc. As you can see, one can also adjust volume faders to desirable level and export it to stereo mix track. Have to say that although this way of operations is plain simple and easy to navigate, it has its learning curve in regards to physical operation of the menu buttons on the side of the device. For my medium-sized fingers, it was not so easy to jump around. Moving on. Besides file management, we also have all other menu features here in the upper part of the display. It is actually very convenient and well thought through. In the microphone section of the menu, we've got everything regarding handling of the input signal, including left and right gain knob link, whereas both channels can be adjusted with one left side gain knob. One can adjust microphone capsule settings and the settings of the other two channels separately. As you can see, there is also an option to link both XLR inputs to the same gain knob, as well as option to record both channels to one stereo track. There is also line output adjustment, which could be very handy for connection to video camera. Next item on the settings menu is the recording settings. Here one can adjust all general, so to say, settings for recording, including start track tone. One of the most interesting features of H5 Studio is the possibility to change the view of the display. One can choose between recording view, whereas almost all surface of the display is used to show already recorded waveforms on all 4 tracks in the real time, or one can change it to the other view, whereas almost all display surface is dedicated to volume meters on all 4 incoming channels, plus stereo mix track, which is very handy, but I'll come back to it later. Next, we've got here an SD card management section and USB connection management, where one can choose between file transfer connection or audio interface mode. In case if one would want to use H5 Studio with the iOS or Android device, the driver is not needed. In interface mode, Zoom H5 Studio is capable of supporting 32-bit float as well as 1624-bit recording. It is also possible to record a backup file on the device itself. After the USB connection settings, we also have system settings where one can adjust common settings of the recorder, things like power, Bluetooth connection, brightness of the display, etc. As I already have mentioned, H5 Studio has 3.5mm input through the microphone capsule. I'm personally not a big fan of this particular configuration. I would prefer to have 3.5mm input connector placed somewhere on the recorder itself. Have to say that it looks and feels better than in case with the previous generation of Zoom interchangeable microphone capsules. 3.5mm lavalier microphone connector got instantaneously recognized. As you can see right here, input switches from the microphone capsule to line in automatically. The mono signal from the lavalier microphone comes in on both left and right channels. We can adjust level on both channels separately. It is also possible to change that in the settings. Just have to scroll down to the microphone and pick the right settings for yourself. As you can see, we have mono mix, plug-in power, left and right gain knob adjustment, etc. Now in the input settings, we can adjust input to mono mix and link it all to the left gain knob. Now we've got H5 Studio in lavalier microphone or external input mono mode. H5 Studio also has Bluetooth connector, which can be used to connect recorder to special monitoring app on iOS. H5 Studio can also be synchronized with the other devices as well as generate code itself, but in that case it needs to have TCA1 timecode adapter or BTA1 Bluetooth adapter. which is sold separately. The procedure itself is very easy. Firstly, we need to enable Bluetooth functionality in the menu settings, then searching for device and connect. As you can see right here, there is not so much one can do with the app. Basically, it is only monitoring. Although one can also start, stop or synchronize connected recorders through this app. Coming back to the display for a minute, as I already have mentioned, H5 Studio display could be switched to 3 different views. In my opinion, this is one of the best features of this recorder, because as you can see right here, it is very easy to level up all the channels to equal position. In case if there's 4 inputs from different sources, it is very helpful. Also I have to say that gain knobs on H5 Studio is of very good quality. One can adjust the volume quite precise, although somehow from 1 to 3 it has a sort of jump. Then from 3 and upwards it is stable, accurate and very easy to adjust. The other thing really worth to mention is that H5 Studio has a very quiet, equally tuned, high quality F-series preamps on all 4 channels. I think at this point it is needless to say that H5 Studio also works well as USB-C audio interface or USB-C microphone. As you can see here, I've got H5 Studio connected to the iPad. It gets fully integrated. It is also possible to adjust frequency for up to 96 kHz directly through the software. In this case, it is Steinberg's Cubasis. Now I would like to introduce you to a sample I've recorded here in the neighborhood in the park, not so far from a highway. I have to say that it was a very windy week. It was not so easy to find the right time and place to record a good sample of birds singing. So please prepare to hear quite significant amount of noise coming from wind, but even with that kind of distortion, you still could hear very clearly the voices of birds singing with all its natural timbre and dynamics. Worth to mention, birds were sitting very deep up in the tree, about 5-6 meters from the position of the recorder. H5 Studio handheld recorder is a high-quality premium built pro-grade device which is designed to capture audio in its pristine quality. I've made quite significant amount of recordings with H5 Studio. I have to say that the results always were very good, and in some cases even absolutely impressive. 19.4mm large microphone capsule works really well. The other great feature of this recorder is F-series preamps. The same preamps Zoom using in its high-end recorders, which is also specially tuned up to work with 32-bit float system. Recordings will sound very natural, with great dynamics and very low noise. This recorder was made to perform, and in my opinion it does it very well. The only thing I'm not entirely happy with is the design and the placement of the menu knobs. It seems to be a bit too small for my fingers. Operation of the settings menu has its learning curve. Regarding interchangeable capsule, I can say that I had my doubts when I got introduced to the H6 Essential. In that case, it seems like a step down from the build quality of previous generation. But now, with H5 Studio, I see a clear benefits from new design. The capsule is much lighter, easier to transport and store, yet it sits very firmly in the connector. It has very large membrane and very sensitive without being prone to interference. which is significantly improves on overall quality of the recording in comparison with other premium field audio recorders. Now it seems to be a clear step forward, which I personally appreciate a lot. I love the quality of the recording I made with it and ease of use. And that would be all for now. As usual, thank you for watching. Thumbs up if you liked it, please subscribe, and I see you all next time.